We were the capital. We were the capital of commerce in British North America. British North America, I say, because most of our history was before 1867, so I call it British North America. Capital of commerce. We had all the banks here in Kingston, and we had over a 200 fleet merchant navy out here to service just Lake Ontario, because we can't get anywhere else because of the Niagara Falls and the rapids that were down near Montreal. So a little later on, 1840, we had a major fire. One of our ships, it was called the Lord Nelson, it blew up in our harbor. They had boilers in the early 1800s, and it started a fire in our grain pile on shore, and it blew southwest and blew about 90% of Kingston. It burnt to the ground. Everything was wood. 1841, the mayor at the time said no more wood structures in Kingston. We became the limestone city. As you see, everything downtown is made of limestone. It's not made of wood. Here in the 1840s, they were all in defense of the Rideau Canal, and I'll show you and explain a little more. We'll go through all four of those today. If you're interested in a cruise in our Thousand Islands, just to the right is the Island Queen and the Island Belle. They go out every couple hours, and they do tour through the Thousand Islands. Our first fire hall in Kingston in 1873 is now the Lone Star Grill. They built that about 23 years too late because the fire was in 1841. Now, as I mentioned a little earlier, with all the iron ore burning and coal burning, we even burnt oil lamps. There was 75 oil lamps in Kingston. It made the air pollution very, very thick. Women were not permitted to be educated at Queen's until 1951. This was the nurses' school. They graduated in 1956 and is now a cafeteria for our first-year students. The Angus Etherington Art Center to our left is one of the nicest art centers I've had the pleasure of visiting. We do have 4 Rembrandts in there, so if you do like art, it is a free museum. You're more than welcome to come out here anytime. Now we're entering the main campus of Queen's University. Way over to our right is what they call the Theological Hall. It was built in 1870. Is one of the first buildings they built here at Queen's University. Nice pool, 2,500 seat basketball court, tennis court, squash, you name it, they've got it in there. Just beautiful. And the original campus of Queen's is just down to our right. Miller Hall is our geology museum, and the geology department is just to the left here at Queen's, and engineering as well in Goodwin Hall. St. James's Church was built in 1842. This church was the first free church in British North America. What do you mean by free? I'm glad you asked. Before this date, the only people that could enter a church on Sundays were rich people. They would pay every January a staple to the church, and they would reserve their pews at the front of the church. The less fortunate, they would be forced to stand outside the churches and see if they could hear the sermons. The priest one day said, I want to fill my seats up. So he took away the reserved seats for the rich, and now they hand around the basket after the sermon. This started all that in British North America. This beautiful building was built in 1852. It had a glass solarium up top, but a fire in 1880 took it out and they put a copper top. Now this is also the third dome that we could see from Fort Henry. It is an active courthouse. The last case that you may know that came through here was that of Colonel Russell Williams. He was a commander of Base Trenton, our Air Force base. He committed murder. He went to Kingston Penitentiary, and now he's out in Millhaven Maximum, just about 20 kilometers west of Kingston. Why it's so important was because there's 8 churches of all different denominations within 6 blocks of that door. That's why the churches were built around 40 clergy. One of the most beautiful in Kingston is St. Mary's, just to our left, built in 1848. Now it is a Roman Catholic church. The Roman Catholics had a really hard time here in Kingston because we were Protestant, we were British. And It took them 3 years and they ran out of money to build that church. Well, two of the gentlemen, part of the family compact, they went to St. Andrews just up ahead on the left, and I'll show you that beautiful church built in 1838. First church was built here in Kingston, built in 1838. One of the most beautiful churches I've ever had the opportunity to step in, and it is still a functioning Presbyterian church. This was originally called Store Street, but after the British left in 1868, we changed all our names of their streets downtown, King, Queen, Princess Street. James Reed Furniture to our right is the oldest store in Canada that's continually running. 1858 they opened their doors. His brother Robert, he was the local undertaker here. He just closed their doors about 15 to 20 years ago.